So survey. Again, we're going to follow the same process. What is our process? The first 10 seconds go in checking out each tab. What is the kind of data that is given to me? So I see first is survey and there is some text. So of course, I'll have to read through this text. Then second is results. And then there's a table given to me and there is a little bit of data as well. So I'll have to probably go through this data and understand what the table is about. I don't have to look at each point. Yeah. But anyway, it's a small table, not too many data points. So I guess by the time I'm done with reading this, perhaps this will be done. But in any case, and I move on to the next one where I say response distribution. Then again, there is some table given to me, which looks a little more complicated because, do I see other philosophers? These two are part of it, whatever. So we'll have to basically take a look at this table properly as well. Yeah. So again, I'm thinking that, well, one tab is a lot of text. So of course that will take time. The other tabs have tables, but then one of the tables might be actually a little confusing. So in any case, I'm thinking, yeah, 2 to 3 minutes and we'll see about it. Fine. Okay, so then we start reading the first tab carefully. Okay. Researchers, so the researchers telling us something. Okay, ethicists, philosophers of ethics, so devote their careers. So ethicists, will have to keep repeating this word again and again, so we'll just call them E. Okay, so E, they are philosophers of ethics basically. So devote their careers to reflecting a morality and presumably care deeply about it. So they are reflecting on morality. They are philosophers of ethics, so they are reflecting on morality. So then, guys, try to imagine when you're reading something, invest yourself in it. Yeah, think about it. Be a little curious about it. Yeah. There's going to be some information that they're going to give you, right? Most likely you would not know it from before. So invest yourself. So then try to imagine that this is what is actually taking place. So when they say this, then I'm thinking, yes, so they're talking about philosophers of ethics. And then I'm imagining that someone deep in thoughts and thinking about ethics, what is right, what is wrong. And then it makes sense that they devote their courage to reflecting on morality, and presumably they care deeply about it because it's their career. They've devoted themselves. Moral reflection tends to promote moral behavior. This also makes sense to me in case I'm thinking a lot about morality. Perhaps I'll use it in my actual life also. Yeah, and ethicists tend to be both more prone to and more skilled at moral reflection than non-ethicists. So of course, because they have devoted their life to it, so then they are more skilled at moral reflection. They're thinking about what is moral. Okay. Given that the philosophical ethical theories of ethicists broadly agree with widely accepted moral standards, we expect that E's would tend to be better behaved than non-E's with regard to widely accepted moral standards. So this is what the researcher is saying. Yeah, so he says that because they think so much about moral standards, we can expect that they would be better behaved than other people. The philosophers of ethics would be better behaved than other people. Make sense? To test this expectation, we conducted a survey of attendees of a philosophical conference to assess whether people who have contact with ethicists believe that E's are indeed particularly well behaved with regard to widely accepted moral standards. So they're saying that we conducted a survey to find out whether actually they are more moral. The attendees, each among exactly one of the categories of ethicists, other philosophers, and non-academics. So, okay, so let's say that there are three groups there. There are E's, there are O's, and there are N's, right? Non-academics. These are philosophers of ethics. These are other philosophers, and these are non-academics. Were asked to evaluate the moral behavior of E's as compared to that of other philosophers and non-academics. So, people in a survey, people were asked to evaluate how moral the ethicists are, the E's are, right? That was the question. We are not trying to, we're trying to find out that in comparison to others, how moral are E's using our survey. Now these headings make sense. There is a survey. So then results and the response distribution, they must be talking about the survey. Okay, the table shows the result of the survey. Perfect. The respondents use a 7-point scale where in relation to the comparison group, 1 means ethicist moral behavior is substantially better. 4 means that their behavior is about the same, and 7 means that their behavior is substantially worse. So this is my scale from 1 to 7. This is equal, right? Is about the same behavior. This is much better, good behavior, and this is worse, so bad behavior. Yeah. of the E's compared to the others. Okay. The values in the comparison group columns indicate the average of the ratings given by the corresponding respondent group. So respondent group, I see that there are E's, there are O's, and there are N's, right? So the survey was conducted and the E's were asked about their own morality. Then the O's were asked about the morality of E's, and the N's were asked about the morality of E's. Yeah. Comparison group, they had to, in the survey, they had to give comparison, right? One means that the E's moral behavior is substantially better. So who are they comparing them with? With the O's and the N's, do we see here, right? So what is happening is that the E's are being asked, they are the respondent group of the survey, that, okay, are you more moral than the O's and the N's? And they are responding on that. Yeah, and they have rated themselves quite well. Do you see that they have rated themselves above 4, right? They're not saying, yeah, we are about the same level of morality. No, no, no. They're saying, you know what, we are more moral than O's, and we are quite a bit more moral than N's. You see, higher rating means more morality, better. Yeah, so they seem to have rated themselves quite well. What about the O's? The O's are saying how are the E's morality compared to your own morality, compared to the morality of the O's. This gives us that score, right? These are the respondents. These people have said that on average, they have given E's of 4. So what they are saying over here is that E's are as moral as we are. Make sense? And they're saying that E's are a little more moral than the N's are because they have rated E's a little higher than the N's. Yeah? Okay. I don't have to worry about the exact figure given to me, just that what did they feel about it? That's all. Yeah. This is what the data tells me. What about the N's, the non-academics? They say that the E's are a little more moral than the O's. Yeah, but here it is again 4. So the N's are saying and E's are as moral as we are. Right? So essentially they say, N's are saying that E's are as moral as we are. They have given the same score to the E's. And they are also saying that E's are a little more moral than the O's, which in a way they are saying that, we rank over here, the E's rank here with us, and the O's, the other philosophers, they actually rank a little below us, right? Do you understand what this data represents, right? Because they are saying that E's are ranked at 3.8. So they are saying this is 3.8. They are ranked equal to us because they have given a 4 as compared to themselves, but they have ranked them higher than O's. So basically they are saying that O's are a little less moral than us and E's. And the O's also said the same thing. They said that E's are same as us, but they're a little more moral than the N's. Yeah. So this is what this table represents. I don't have to worry about the exact data, but it is important for me to find out what the table is representing, what the data, what is meant by the data given to us, right? Okay. So and yes, I would have put in at least a minute to understand what the data is given. Yeah, I would have put about a minute over here and I would have put about a minute over here as well. Makes sense, yeah? It will take that much time. Let's go on to this one. Response distribution, the table shows for the E's and O's, the number of responses for each of the ranges of ratings better about the same. And so here they are giving us the response distribution. This gave us the average. You see, this 4 was the average, 3.4 was the average. Yeah. Now they are giving us the response distribution. So they're saying that the E's, the respondent group, yeah, this is my respondent group. So the E's, out of the E's, 12 of them rated themselves better than comparison group is other philosophers. So 12 of them rated themselves better than the O's. 18 of them rated themselves same as the O's, and 4 of them rated themselves worse than the O's. Do you understand? Look at the heading of the columns. These are the respondent groups. So be very careful about what data you are reading. So here, like for example, now if you look at over here, here the E's are comparing themselves to the N's. Comparison group is N. Again, E's are being compared, right? Comparison groups means E's are being compared to whom? The entire survey was about we conducted a survey here to assess whether people who have contact with E's believe that E's are indeed particularly well behaved. Yeah, so everything is about the E's over here. They are being compared to O's and to N's. Now, when E's are the respondents and they are comparing themselves to N's, then 19 of them said that we are better behaved than N's, 11 said we are the same, and 4 said that we are worse. And we remember from a previous table that E's rated themselves better than both O's and N's. So then this makes sense, doesn't it? They are saying that either we are the same or we are better. There are many more people giving themselves, look here, I mean, everyone like 18 of them have given the same rating, but then more of them have rated themselves better than have people, like only 4 of them have rated themselves worse, right? Here, 19 of them have rated themselves better, and here only 4 have rated themselves worse. So of course, the averages are going to be towards the better. Just think of your weighted averages over here, right? Just imagine the scale to be vertical. So think that here is my middle point. Now there are a lot of people who are lying over here at the top. A lot of them have rated themselves 1 to 3, which means that the average is going to move up. Over here, there are few people. So the average is going to move towards up, is going to go up, right? Okay. So now I understand what this table represents as well, right? Am I good with it? Should we check out the question now? I hope both the things are visible to you. Take a minute. I'll not give you too much time because otherwise, yeah, we don't have too much of it. But take a minute. Check it out. Yeah, that we are good. Yeah, Rakshit, that's correct. All right. For each of the following statements about the respondents to the survey, select yes if it accurately reflects the information provided, otherwise no. So yeah, yes if it is accurate, otherwise no. The majority of philosophers who responded to the survey were E's. Now, where do we have this particular information? Look, our respondent group of gives us number of respondents, right? So I know we had 34 E's, we had 47 O's, and we had 23 N's. So I have the data given to me, and are the majority of philosophers who responded, were they E's? I know that there were 34 E's and there were 47 other philosophers. So then 34 is not a majority, right? The other philosophers were more in number, if I'm talking about just the philosophers. So then the majority of philosophers were E's. That is not correct, right? The majority of people who responded to the survey were not E's. Now, that is true. These total, all of them together were the people who responded to the survey, and they were not E's because I have only 34 E's. Bagi, I have 47 plus 23 E's. Yeah. So then certainly this is also no. And then the majority, yes, sorry. This is yes. Right? The majority of those who responded were not E's, and that is true. So this is yes. And the majority of people who responded to the survey were philosophers. Now, philosophers are E's and other philosophers, so both together. Now, if I'm going to add this with this, they'll certainly form the majority in this group. So again, this is going to be yes. Yeah, so that is why our answer is going to be no, yes, and yes. Are we good with that? So this was a relatively simple one, isn't it? Yeah, once I know what my data is and I know where my data is, I could have solved this like within 30 seconds very quickly. Is that okay? Yeah, of course, I have to ensure that I understand which group is being talked about. Yeah, exactly which majority of philosophers who responded were E's. So here I'm talking about E's as compared to all the philosophers, not all respondents, right? So I have to ensure that I'm taking that into account. The exact wordings we say, right? Every word is important. Yeah, it's like that. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Yeah. Your name is not here, but yeah, J. Yeah, that is correct. Yep. Good day. Hmm. That is correct. Yeah, Rakshit, that is correct. Good. Hmm. Yeah. Again, your name is not this coming anonymous, but yeah, that is the answer. Okay. So, great. I think it was a fairly okay one for most of you. For each of the following statements about the ease surveyed, each of the following statements about the ease surveyed, right? So basically, we're talking about the respondent ease, the ones who were responding, right? Select yes if it can be reasonably inferred from the information provided. Select no otherwise. Okay. Now they rate. Now who are they? They are the E's who responded, who were a part of the survey. So they are respondents. Yeah. They rate E's on average as better morally behaved than the N's. That is correct. You remember we discussed that E's are saying that these are the scores that they have given, that we are better behaved than O's as well as N's, and we are much better behaved than N's, right? So yes, they do rate on average themselves as better morally behaved. Okay. Now, they rate the N's on average as better morally behaved than O's. So, do we have this information? Do they rate N's as better behaved than O's? Look, we do have this information, and we know that E's have rated themselves higher than O's, and they have rated themselves much higher than N's. So, what are they saying essentially? E's are saying, okay, we are here. E's are saying that O's are over here. They are worse off than us. They're not as well behaved as we are. And we are even more, even better than N's. So essentially, they're saying that N's are somewhere over here. So we are much better than N's and we are a little better than O's, right? So they have actually rated N's worse than O's. Yeah, they rate non-academics as better. No, they rate them as worse than other philosophers than O's. So here the answer is no. And they rate E's on average as better morally behaved than O's. That is correct. We said that they do. So here it is also, right? So the entire question was based on the data given to us in this little table, right? There is not a lot of switching that you needed to do after you understood the data in the tabs, right? Then you had to basically go to one tab and get the answer. Again, this would not take much time, right? So the last question and this question will not take much time. Let's go on to the next one. Take a minute. Do we have time? We do. Yeah, Swati, me too. I also don't like such questions at all. Um, so, um, yeah, Raksha, that is correct. Good. Guys, instead of complaining, solve the question. Okay. Of the following questions, which one is not answerable using only the information provided? So I understand most of you are very unhappy with a question of this sort because you have to look at, for four options, you have to find the answer, okay, that this answer is available, right? You have to convince yourself that yes, the answer is there. And for one, so basically you have to use kind of elimination or convince yourself that yes, this answer is not there, the data is not there. I understand. In case you're running short on time at this, in questions like this, and if you feel that it will take too much time, I get it, it's fine. If you're running short on time, you can just take a guess, move on, come back to it later on in case you have time. But guys, do remember that when you do that in an MSR question, when you come back, you would have forgotten most of the context, right? So then you do risk that even if you have, let's say, 3 4 minutes at the end of it, you may not be able to utilize that time very properly, right? So I mean, you can use that option. Look, normally in case you're short on time, and you normally do fall short on time, when you know that, okay, at the end you're going to have no extra time, then fine, mark it, move on, doesn't matter. And normally the level of these questions would be rather high. So even if you just take a shot at it, and even if it is incorrect, you're not going to lose a lot of points. I totally get that. Yeah. But if there are hopes of coming back to it later, it's going to take a lot more effort. You might as well review some other questions that you're not sure of. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the options that we have over here. How many of the non-ethicist philosophers, so basically we're talking about O's, so how many of the O's surveyed reported better behavior by E's relative to non-academics, so relative to N's? Now, how many of the O's surveyed reported? I'm talking about the O's surveyed and how many. So what am I looking at? I'm looking at the response distribution, because here I know in my tab 2, I'm just given the average. So how many people said that these people had better behavior? How many said they had the same behavior? How many said that they had the worst behavior? That is given in my tab 3. So I'm going to go to my tab 3 table. Exactly what is it looking for? How many of the O's reported better behavior by E's relative to the N's? So respondent group, how many of the O's? All right, here are my O's response. Reported better behavior by E's over here, relative to non-academics, the N. So comparison group is this one, non-academics. How many of the O's they reported is better than the N? So I'm going to look at this particular data point. Make sense, right? I can get the answer over here. I have this particular data point, so this is not my answer, right? I have to look for an option which is not answerable. Okay, which respondent group on average gave the highest rating for the moral behavior of ease? So on average, which respondent group gave the highest rating? Well, obviously we know that ease gave themselves the highest rating to ease, right? Because their average is 3.4 and 3.1 over here, right? It doesn't matter how many gave what kind of rating to which. Why? Because this is also higher, this is also higher, which means that the overall average is certainly going to be higher than this or this. It doesn't matter how many people are there in each group, irrelevant, right? So I know my answer here is going to be E. I can answer this question. So this is again not the correct option. Okay, how many of the non-academics, so how many of the N surveyed reported better behavior by E's relative to O's? So now we are saying again, how many of the N's reported better behavior? Again, we are looking at the response distribution. So again, we go to our tab 3. As I said, it's going to be a little painful, doesn't matter. How many of the N's surveyed? So the respondent group should be N. But guys, look at this. I don't have the N respondent group here. Do we see? Yeah, I have only E's, I have only O's, and I don't have the N respondent group over here. So I have no data about that. So then this data is not available to me, and that is why this would be the answer, right? Anyway, I'll hold on to it. Look, if you get the answer, if you know, if you see it, and if you are done, then you might as well mark it and move on. Because again, now, if there's not much time, if you're flipping between the tabs, it is going to take more time, of course. If you feel that, okay, you've got the answer, this is it, there is no confusion, just mark it and move on. Yeah, we know we are short on time normally, otherwise also. But if you do have time, for example, if you've gotten comfortable and if you've managed to just get those DS questions very quickly, and normally they don't take a lot of time, if that has happened, then of course you should read the other options also to make sure that that data is also available, just to be sure. Yeah. Which respondent group rated itself as being the most well-behaved morally? We know which respondent group did that, right? They said E. E said that we are better behaved than everybody else, right? So they rated themselves as most well-behaved. And how many people responded to the researchers survey? So how many people were there? I know that I have the number of respondents. I have the E's, I have the O's, and I have the N's. And I know that these were the ones, there were 3 categories, right? Each among exactly one of the categories. There were only 3 categories, E's, O's, and N's. So if I add these numbers, I'll get my answer. So of course, then here also my answer is there. So this is not my correct option. Now, do keep in mind, I am not going to try and add these numbers. I don't have to give the correct answer. I just have to find out, this is a data sufficiency type of a question. I have to find out whether I have the data available to get the answer. Do I have to actually get the answer? No. I'm not going to waste my time, right? I know if I add them up, I'll obviously get my answer. Yeah. So of course, their answer is obviously C, nothing, no issues, perfect, right? Any doubts over here? The second part of the second question would have caught in exam environment. Just a moment. Yeah, we have a couple of minutes. Let's go back and check out that. Okay, how do I go back? Yes. All right. So in the second part of the second question, they rate non-academics on average as better morally behaved than other philosophers. So you feel that that is a tricky one, is it? So about the ease, it can be reasonably inferred that they rate ends on average as better morally behaved than, yes. So, right. So because there was little data, so then we did take a look at, okay, what are the E's saying there? There's just one data point for each, right? E's against the O's and E's against the N's. But then yeah, this would, I mean, it would take you a moment to realize that this data is given to you, right? That you can compare the two, because the comparison of the O's as well as the N's is happening against the same quantity. Everyone is being compared against the E's. So if I rate E's a little better and then I rate E's a lot better, then I have automatically rated these two as well. Yeah, indirectly I've automatically rated these two as well. So the more we do those reasoning, the logical kind of questions, the more we are able to find these connections when we are reading. Automatically, then when we are reading, we are able to find, I see, okay, E's have given these two different ratings. Why are they different? They have rated themselves much better than the N's. Yeah, so automatically those connections start happening in your mind once you've done a lot of those sequence questions, and A is above B, and all those logic and the analytical reasoning, what those kind of questions. Once you've done a lot of them, then these connections automatically start happening. Yeah. But yeah, there's this, slight trick. Yeah. Okay, so we are done with the 2 sets that we want to do today. in case you have any generic queries or anything related to GMAT, you can ask right now. In case you have any strategy kind of queries, so whatever, we have 2 minutes, exactly 2 minutes. So let me know. Open house now. Right. So, Divya, yeah, data insights, managing, I understand that for most people, managing time in quant and verbal is not a problem, and they feel a lot more comfortable with it because managing time in data insights has become such a pain. Totally, I get that. And it also has a lot to do with that we're not very comfortable with these kind of questions. Yeah, they are reasoning based, and they are based on the verbal basics, they are based on the quant basics, and everything comes together in these questions. Yeah, they're supremely interesting. In case your basics of verbal and your basics of, look, DI as it is, there aren't too many basics on of just DI, right? Perhaps we need to discuss, there is some discussion on correlation, there is some discussion on all those kind of things, of course, that is important, and about the normal distribution, this, that, and all. Good to know those things, but there's little data as such. The skills basically that you need in data insights, that comes from quant, your comfort with ratios, your comfort with percentages, your comfort with weighted averages, immediately a figure will form. Yeah, immediately there'll be a scale in your mind. It'll be very easy for you to see the relations among the various quantities. Then your comfort with critical reasoning, I mean, here your comfort with conditionals, of course, your comfort with a lot of those basics that we study in quant and verbal. Once it develops, then it is a lot easier to handle DI in a faster way. Yeah, of course, accuracy improves, but also your time taken reduces. Once you get comfortable with each question type, you know exactly what you have to do, right? Like, for example, a person who's not practiced MSR much, they would, like, we had discussed that previous question, they would most likely read the entire tab too. Is that required? It's not required. In fact, it was not even required in any of our questions, and there's always going to be that kind of data, right? So it's just about fine-tuning your strategy. Once you start doing that, once you start seeing some results, in fact, you'll find that DI questions are a lot of fun. You'll start enjoying them a whole lot more. Yeah. It'll come.